Welcome back to our St. Louis Blues rebuild in Franchise Hockey Manager 11. We get ready to start the 2026-2027 season, and it does look like Toronto is surprisingly the favorites. I don't think I've ever seen them actually one of the favorites to win. Also, you have Panthers and Winnipeg as well, but Winnipeg doesn't really have that much depth in their team. I was looking at their depth chart, and they don't have really any prospects that are in the pipeline, so I was kind of surprised to see them as one of the favorites. Even just looking at right wing, doesn't look like they really have anyone. Brad Lambert we could have got on waivers, but obviously we didn't end up doing that because I feel as though it's a little bit odd trying to get players off waivers. I feel as though it's like a cheap way to kind of handle things. But we'll take a look. You also have Dallas as a possible dark horse, and then scoring title is pretty much the same as it is in every single save for everyone. So we won't really go into that. I don't see anything that's really jumping out at me. Shesterkin, Swayman, and Hellebuck are all the top players there, but we didn't make too many trades from last episode. I will show you a little bit of what we end up doing, and then kind of where we are sitting at right now. We managed to get Xavier Villeneuve from Carolina Hurricanes, who is one of their better prospects, and one of the ones that we were looking at in the draft. We ended up giving up Majic Jesslop, who wasn't good enough to probably start for us, and then Ralph, which he's 20, so that's kind of just the only reason why I end up doing it, and 2 fifths, because fifths are a little bit overrated in my opinion. That was pretty much it that we ended up doing. I think you guys end up seeing this as well, the second rounder for that. But having a look at what this roster looks like, look at the depth chart first. We have Villeneuve and Vernhoff, who will probably go side to side on this one. A rushing defenseman and point shooter, so it should be pretty even for both of them. I feel as though that's our future, along with Pelika. But it isn't to say that we might not part ways with Pelika, but Vernhoff and Villeneuve are already better than Broberg, so Broberg is definitely on the bubble. Liljegren as well looks like he's pretty decent in terms of what Broberg can offer, and Janicic, really hoping he ends up being 3 stars this season. But looking at our depth in terms of prospects, Trey Augustin, which is the recent acquisition that we got, still in the NCAA for at least one more season. And then we have Porter Martoni, who we did end up bringing up early. He's going to probably play on the first line. Then Luke Misa as well, who we recently signed. Vernhoff, Shergott, and Artemonov. Artemonov we end up sending back to the KHL just for another season to kind of see if he can polish off some of those areas, because currently he's like the 7th best right wingers for us, so I don't really want to push him too early. And then we also have Aram Olsen, who is already kind of similar ability as Artemonov, so that Artemonov signing does not look like it was necessarily the greatest trade. But looking at our draft picks, we have a first, 3 seconds, 3 thirds, and 4 fourths, or 5 fourths, I think, and then a couple for next year as well. But we're mostly looking at what we can do for us this season, and this is the team that we're going to roll out to start the season. We have Mbereko, who's going to end up starting for goalie for us. Oster is going to be the backup. On the bottom line, we have Perisic, Sachin, and Gauthier. So pretty much all the prospects that we hope that would do well is going to be on the bottom line. And then we have Pinard, Balduck, and Romani. I might even move Balduck up here for where Bluger is, just because I think it's probably a better opportunity. And especially if he can manage to solidify that role. Lafreniere is going to be our second line right winger with Holloway, who's a shadow. I don't really like that role ever. Counterattacking, I guess counterattacking is probably what we're going to put for him. I don't really like shadow. I don't know anyone that actually really plays that. And then Neighbors is going to be at the top left, and Thomas is going to start off center for us. I don't know where Misa is. Oh, Misa's on the bench currently, so he could easily slide in there as well. Wouldn't mind him playing with Martoni. And then for a defenseman, Lindgren and Janicic is going to start off at the top. I think that's wrong. We're going to have Broberg there. I think Lilligren is probably our second one. And we'll kind of leave it at that. Lilligren should be our second one. I don't think Lindgren is actually that good. I mean, he's good defensively, but I don't think he's good in terms of offense. He is 28, though. And only 2 stars, so I'll give the nudge to Lilligren for this, but we'll have to start this off. I think we're pretty good in terms of cap this season. We managed to squeeze just above it. Some of the signings that we ended up having, we did let go to the AHL, so we'll end up taking a closer look at that. And Dylan Holloway wants to switch. It's fine by me. But in terms of cap obligation, we're fine. We're sitting at $35 million for our forwards, which obviously is low. We still have around $20 million to spend if we want, and then next year's $42. So we're going to have to make a decent amount of signings over the next little while. We'll look at the free agents to see. Killhorn, we wanted to play this season, but he just wasn't. He would have gone the way of some of the prospects, so we obviously let him marinate in the AHL there for a little bit. And then we'll look at the free agents, see if there's anyone that could help us. Everyone's pretty old, so there's no dice for anything there. We could easily get like Charlie if we wanted, but I don't think it really would help us. Murray as well, but no one good enough to start right now, I would say. So we'll end up starting the season off, and let's see if we have what it takes to either completely tank this season or actually make some forward progress on this one, because we did start the season off, or last season off, pretty decent, and we actually improved. So we managed to get 10 more wins than what we did last season. 3 overtime losses less than last season as well. Let's see, points for goes for, we end up having 262 as opposed to 231, and we end up conceding a little bit less, even though we had worse goalkeepers for us. So I find that super odd that we managed to actually do better than what we would have thought that we would have done last season. I thought last season was going to be a gut job for sure, but I think leaving Kyrou and sending him to Senators might be that nail in the coffin that we need to actually finish towards the bottom. Because I feel as though we're one not necessarily franchise player, but one top pick away from really turning this thing around. And I do think that we're only going to have one more season probably at the bottom, and I think we turn around very quickly after that. So first game that we end up having this season, we win 5-1. Insane. Romani gets the first goal of the season, and Sachin gets a hat trick. What in the world? Sachin gets a hat trick, and then Ekblad ends up scoring at the end, but we don't end up scoring in the third, but that is still crazy. I don't know how Sachin ends up scoring 3 goals on his debut. Wow, I thought we were wrong about that guy, but clearly being on the 4th line is good for him. So, yeah, good thing he didn't end up starting in the AHL this season. He ended up playing only 8 games for us last season, but definitely making an impact early on. I mean, I don't think that we should be going all in for it this season. I still think we're at least a season or 2 away. We do lose. We go back down to earth, and we only score 1. Zub ends up scoring the only goal, and it was shorthanded as well. So not necessarily a good look for us on that one. But like I said, I'm completely content with losing out this season. We'll take a look at where the media ends up looking at us for the season as we go. But we're just going to kind of see how this mishmash of players actually ends up doing. So we'll take a closer look at, they're looking at rebuild and then balance next season. There's no strengths, and weakness is everything. So yeah, I think once we end up finding an actual goalie, probably within the next season or two. Should be fine. I think we have our franchise one as of now, and we can kind of build on that afterwards. Neighbors gets a goal, Thomas with 2, and then Holloway and Pekarsic. Then Lil Green ends up scoring as well, and then Broberg scores right at the end. But at that point, the game was already done. 7-4 win against Carolina seems pretty wild, but Carolina currently at the bottom. And same thing with Dallas. So our 2 wins, or 2 commanding wins, have been against teams that have yet to win. So that should tell you enough. We do now face Washington. Let's kind of look at least where they are. If they're at the bottom too, they're at the top. So this will be the ultimate test. We end up losing 3-2. That's not actually that bad. Lafreniere gets 2, and that's all she wrote for us. We now set our sights on Edmonton, and Edmonton's still not a very good team. That is crazy. 0-2 to start the season off. I don't know what's happened with them. In the Philly save, they were extremely dominant. They couldn't quite win, but they were still pretty wild for sure. Can we beat Oilers? 6-5 loss, so that's not good for us. Obviously, Romani ends up scoring crazy second period. Draisaitl scores. McDavid, Heinen, Shamar Moses. Jesus, we do come back in the third, but too little, too late. Bluger, Romani, and Bluger and Romani. So those are the only ones that end up scoring in the third. That is still crazy. We're going to take a look at maybe our lines and kind of switch something up. I do want Misa to play. And it was crazy that he was available, so I don't know. Bluger is still pretty good. We'll take off maybe Pekarsic or Pernard. No, Pernard's actually doing well as well. Jesus, who do we end up taking off? Holloway's the one that's doing the worst. So we'll take off Sachin. 5 points, yeah, we're going to leave Sachin, and I think I might actually even move him up just for one game to kind of see where that is. Let's take off Bluger just for one game. We'll put in Misa, and we'll kind of let things go. Misa's now second. Baldock gets sent all the way down, but I think that's just because they're rotating for that. I do want Martoni on the second line, though, if I'm going to do that. Just to match him up with Misa for one game, if that's possible. Romani currently in the top goal scorer, so one of the recent acquisitions that we end up getting is already turning heads around the league. Obviously gets bumped down now that more teams have played, but we've played 5 games, and 2-3-0 is kind of what I would have expected. I was actually surprised that we managed to win 2, but not bad at all. Predators, even though they won last season, does look like their honeymoon phase is definitely over. We'll take a look at what it ends up suggesting. So Misa, yeah, I'm going to put Baldock on the second. We'll let Lafreniere play on the first for this time, and we'll kind of see how we do against Florida here. 7-2. So it looks like it's meshing quickly together. Ekblad ends up scoring. Pernard scores. Misa gets a goal, assisted by Martoni, so I do like that. Gauthier, Thomas, and Lafreniere score before Neighbors scores at the very end. But 7-2 is a pretty commanding victory against Florida. Florida, not a bad team. We end up giving them their first loss this season. That is crazy. So I don't think this team's as bad as advertised, so I mean 3-3 is still pretty good, especially with a team that does not know anyone. So we'll kind of roll with this again. We win 3-2 again. So Lafreniere, Gauthier, and Gauthier once more end up scoring. We'll have to take a look at how well we're doing after around 10 games, and then kind of see if we have to shift things again. But doing pretty well without Bluger, but obviously he's going to be featuring on our team throughout the season for sure. He wasn't just a call-up for the short term. We end up losing 6-3, so we do suffer a loss there. First period, we were non-existent. Holloway ends up getting the goal. Gauthier and Neighbors in the second, and nothing in the third. So at least there's positives with that. We did shut them down in the third, but we got completely shut down as well. But we did lose against a 6-1-1 team. We now head to Vancouver, who's also a 6-1-1 team, and I don't think we win this one. So we're gonna have to take a look at this. We end up winning 5-4. Crazy. Lafreniere scores, and Zub, Thomas, and Bolduc end up scoring before we end up getting Romani. Romani ends up getting the game-winning goal there. 7 points in 9 games. Not too bad for the 21-year-old. Where did he even come from? He was supposed to be with the Canucks. That is why he ended up scoring. He was with the North Bay Battalions. And now Janicic is hurt. And, oh, Palika wasn't even playing. Oh my god. So I'll end up adjusting that closer to it. I didn't even realize that Palika was sitting on the bench for most of that run. So at least he ended up getting a little bit of rest, but still, the fact that we managed to win a couple games without arguably our best player at the moment, other than obviously Thomas, is still pretty wild. So we'll end up, yeah, Janicic ends up getting the rest. Misa's still playing, so it does look like Sachin now pushed to the left wing, so not bad at all. I feel as though Martoni's going to go first line if we're going to go that route. It does look like Palika is now on the second line. 4-3 loss in overtime though, so we do get the point. Not that we really want it. Bolduc gets a goal, so does Lafreniere and Holloway, before Matty Beniers ends up scoring to ruin our day. And Bluger now hurt with forearm soreness for 1 to 2 days, or sorry, 1 to 2 weeks. And I mean, 5-4-1, not terrible. But we do set our sights on Vegas now. It does look like they want Bluger to play. I don't think I want him to play. I'm going to let him sit. And we see Sachin now on the bottom line, Bolduc on the second one, Lafreniere and Martoni kind of where they should be, I guess. To lose 4-1, so it did hurt a little bit. Liljegren and Thomas with the only ones with points there. But Vegas at the top as well. We keep losing to top teams. We are at least beating against the terrible teams. So the fact that we're still 5-5-1 amongst 11 games isn't that bad. We might end up going closer to 20 to kind of see really how this team gels, because I feel as though after 10 isn't really a good indication to see where you are in this this whole thing. So looks like they're still going to rest for this. We might want to change our goalie though. As I say this, we get a shutout. So Lafreniere with his 7th, Neighbors with his 4th, Ekblad with his 3rd and 4th, and then Dalibor Dvorsky. Has he not been playing? We'll take a look at the stats amongst these games just to kind of reference. And Thomas is around a point per game. Last season he ended up getting around 90 points, so just a bit above. Lafreniere with around the same kind of pace, and Romani with a significant amount less ice time has 10 points in 12 games. Neighbors with 10, and Holloway as well. Bolduc looks like he's on pace to do around what he did last season. And then Ekblad, I do want to move down in the lineup there. Sachin with 7 already, and Pinard with 7. Martoni as well. No goal yet, so we might want to tinker with some of his stats just to be able to get him to score, because that's a little bit criminal for sure. Berico with 6 wins though is pretty wild. We'll end up having to switch to our backup though, even though he did just get a shutout. We'll switch to our backup after his shutout streak ends up ending. I always like giving them an opportunity to be able to continue that. Ricard are already 2.5 stars. When did we get him? We got him in the 3rd round for the Nicoletti trade, and this guy looks good. The fact that he's already 2.5 stars, that is crazy. Yeah, it doesn't like criticism, known for being loyal to his team. I like that. That is great. So he's already like the standout guy there for sure. McCann also at 2 stars already. Not sure when we end up drafting him. He was drafted with the 4th. That's pretty good as well. So 19 years old and already at 2 stars is pretty good. Better than some of the people that would expect that. Marcus Ruck at 2 as well at 18 is pretty good. And we'll take a look. Shergood at 2, professionalism and offensive read is there. And then Plamondon, just the flyer that we end up getting, the defender that can't play defense that we end up grabbing with the 4th round pick for Silverguard, who is just a random guy that we end up getting that actually did well that season. And then we end up trading him away for just a random 4th round pick. So it does look like Lafreniere is still improving, and at least Porter Martoni is improving his positioning. Misa also improving his face-offs and his fighting. Sachin now 2.5 star player, so maybe the recipe is to play him as much as possible. He is only getting 9 minutes a night though, so we'll end up having to take a little bit closer of focus on his development there, but not too bad. 13 points in 12 games. Still, like I said, a lot better than what I expected. I expected us to be more so where the Blackhawks are, which, when you think about it, the fact that they're 3-6-2 is criminal to having Connor Bedard. There's no rhyme or reason why they should be that bad. Does look like Harvey Pernard is going to end up getting his opportunity there. I now want to switch him. I think this should be the prospect line for sure. The Sachin, Misa, and Dvorsky, and then Martoni, Baldock, and Neighbors does look good on the second line there. Hopefully he can manage to get a goal. I do have to look at Palika and Ekblad to switch it to the proper lines there. I do think that I did kind of focus on the wrong thing there. Old school, and I think Broberg should go up too. Sorry with tinkering it now, but I think Lil Green should go on the second one. It just seems like it makes the most sense. Yeah, Ekblad's more of a shutdown guy. We do lose 6-1, so that wasn't a good adjustment. Thomas, Lafreniere, and Sachin, the only ones with points there. I don't understand how Sachin ended up getting a point, but 6-1. We now head to Utah, and Utah already looking like they're the team that the real deal, like what they were in the save before. They end up winning in the next 2 years is definitely going to be the most difficult team to end up beating. But Bluger looks like he's coming back soon. But like I said, we don't necessarily want to win too much this season. We want to see development, but we don't necessarily want to win outright. Dvorsky gets a goal there for a second, and then Neighbors with his fifth and sixth, but nothing else on that one. We now continue on the road and go to Minnesota, and this would be one of those ones that I definitely want us to lose, for sure. It will help Minnesota and definitely help us get closer to the basement, where I feel as though we rightfully belong this season. 5-2 win there. We still haven't adjusted our our goalie, so we might want to bring in our backup. Lilligren with his third, Misa with his second, and Neighbors with his seventh, before Thomas scores a shorthanded goal and Neighbors with his eighth is pretty crazy. Does give us 15 points, and we're 500. I mean, we would be in second place in the Metropolitan, and that is kind of scary. We could also be fighting for a wild card spot too, which is also equally as disturbing. I mean, Capitals have played 18 games though and only managed to get 15 points. So the fact that we're at 15 with 3 games less is pretty crazy. Zub is now hurt. Okay, whatever. We'll leave that. But it does look like Pinard is going to Pinard and Sachin are going to get the are going to sit this one. But the fact that Sachin's the least playing is good for us, though. I think once we end up adjusting it again, he'll probably come back on. So I think Gauthier is not really considered a great player. I think we might have bit into him a little bit early, and unfortunately, I think we have a little bit of egg on our face as a result of that, because it doesn't look like he's really developing as much as what I hoped we would, and we're obviously not going to put him on the top line in order to see what he's got, because it just seems pretty odd to do that with a player that only really has 3-star potential, which I understand 3-star potential is good enough to play in the NHL, but you don't really win with putting your 3 stars on the first line, or even the second line for that matter. It does look like Svechnikov is at the top in terms of the points, and Boldy and Eichel are fighting it for the top goal scorer. Definitely not what I would expect. I don't know where McDavid is. McDavid, Draisaitl, the 2 players that end up scoring a ton of goals in real life are nowhere to be found. I find that crazy. So Gauthier is going to get the nod there. We're going to put Oster in. Oster hasn't gotten that much of a look, and let's see the nightmare that is to follow. 6-2 loss. Holloway ends up scoring a shorthanded, and Palika ends up getting his first of the season. But look at the grade of our goalie, and he did get subbed off. So Barrico ended up technically getting a shutout with the amount that he played, letting in 6 goals amongst 29 shots. Not necessarily the greatest, 35 grades, so we're going to give him another opportunity here against Calgary. And Calgary's not necessarily a great team either, so I mean, it is probably a 50-50 for that, but like I said, we haven't really given our backup that much of an opportunity, even though he's not very good. We do win 9-1, so he only lets in 1, which is crazy. So Holloway, Neighbors, Lafreniere, Janicic, and Dvorsky end up scoring before Thomas, Pekarsic, and Bluger and Bolduc end up getting on the score sheet there. Surprised to not see our youngster there. Martoni still has not got a goal yet. Just assists. And I always hate these emails, so we'll kind of leave it at that. I will switch him back to Barrico, because I think we kind of seen what we need to out of our goalie. We gave him the chance to redeem himself after that 6-2 blunder, and he managed to come back and win 9-1 against a soft team, but oh my god, if only we had Oilers' first round draft pick this year. That'd been so much better. I think we just have our own. Yeah, that would have been so much better than this season, but the fact that they're at the bottom, I find that crazy. I'm going to have to look at their team to actually see why. Because I won't be able to sleep tonight knowing that that Edmonton Oilers are that bad. Shows that they're rebuild though. No one's... Oh, someone's hurt. Oh, McDavid has a fractured tibia. How long was he out for? He was out for 99 days, so that might be why. Oh, we didn't switch our goalie. 4-1 loss. And Pekarsic ends up being the lone goal scorer there. And I don't know who this one is. Yeah, there's no reason why we would make that trade. Still haven't got too many offers for Thomas. There was whispers that team might have made an offer for him, but the fact that he is the top player on the trading block and no one's actually managed to pry him away from us is kind of shocking. He is currently, I believe, our captain, though. Not that that really matters for teams. But we'll put Martoni back on the top one. I'll change his... let's go with Speedy Ford, maybe. We'll give him Speedy Ford. See how he does there. We'll face off against Florida, Ekblad's former team. We do lose 3-2. Bolduc with a goal and Thomas with a goal. But unfortunately, could not quite get that. Janicic ended up getting hurt as well. And does look like he's going to spend a little bit of time in IR. So we'll move that. We'll probably have to bring up a defender that shouldn't be. Yeah, we have to go all the way down for Lucas Fisher. So Lucas Fisher will play with us this season. Probably for the next 2 months. And let's see what the kid's got. I mean, I feel as though he's more likely to play for us than Zub. But we'll end up playing this last game, see how well we do, and kind of leave it at that. Head to the trade deadline and see if there's any deals to be had and how this season concludes, which obviously I feel as though we are teetering towards the bottom, and I think that is probably the best bet for us. Misa I'm going to want there as well. Bluger I'm going to put at the bottom. And I'm going to leave it at that. Ekblad and Plika. I don't like how I keep having to adjust it every single time. We end up losing 6-2. And Romani with the only goal. Or sorry, one of the only goals. Who got the other one? Sachin with his fourth. So ultimately, does find us just above Blackhawks, which is kind of where we want to be at this point. But not bad enough. Montreal Canadiens terrible in this. I don't know how that's possible. They had 42 wins last season, then all of a sudden let it all go by only winning 5 games so far. We're currently at 8-11-1, and 73 and 74 against, 4-4-1 at home, 4-7-0 away. So we already know what the problem is. It's definitely our away record for sure. We'll take a look at our stats of players and neighbors at the top. 18 and 20, Thomas with 18, Holloway with 16, Lafreniere, Romani, and Sachin. Sachin doing pretty good with limited amount of time. I mean, I don't know why I didn't start him earlier. So it is looking like he is the real deal for sure. And it is nice to know that we took a chance on him, and it was probably so far the right decision. And I mean, Emberico being embarrassed here, 893 save percentage, only a little bit better than Oster there, which is 1-2-0. But I don't think that we're going to really hate him too much. He does have the mental ability to be able to overcome this, but I don't see him as being our long-term option. Obviously, we're still going to end up waiting on Augustin, who is 7-3-1 in the NCAA so far in 11 games. So does look pretty good for us, and I'm really hoping that Martoni can manage to get a goal soon. So hopefully you guys like this episode. Leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more, and thank you for watching. Until next time.